Hey everybody, get started here in just a second. My first live stream. A little bit different technically than I expected, to be honest with you, but we will go ahead and just get right into things here. If people show up, great, we'll have a big time. If not, that's fine. This will be added to the video list probably tomorrow sometime. Originally, I got this live stream idea. My Hot Wheels room is a complete and total mess. I actually did a video, gosh, I don't know. It feels like it's almost been a month ago, about some things I was going to move out of the collection. And really, most of that I've not been able to yet. I've been so busy. I've got a lot of stuff still hanging around. Moved a few items, but not near as much as I intended on. And a lot of it I was just needing to get rid of to kind of clear out some space. So if you're into Hot Wheels much at all, have been for a while, you know that a lot of times you never really clear up room. You just keep adding and adding and adding. So either way, I'm going to talk today a little bit about Hot Wheels treasure hunts. I made the comment, I guess the other day, that some of these 2023 treasure hunts, really just even as a whole, it's a little bit underwhelming. You know, the castings are just okay. So I got to thinking about that, and I was like, well, you know, just how different is that from the previous years? And we're not going to get into a lot of different years here. I'm really just going to mostly compare the 2022 treasure hunts to what we have so far in the 2023 treasure hunts. Guys, if you're new to this, treasure hunts, you know, Hot Wheels makes 15 cases of cars each year, 15 different cases. And in each of those cases, there is one car that is considered a treasure hunt. So now each box of that case that you get at your store may not necessarily have a treasure hunt in it, but typically they do. So that's not to be confused with a super treasure hunt. Super treasure hunts are much more rare and generally much more valuable. So just want to go ahead and get into what we had. I guess we'll start with last year, just kind of go through these quickly. I'll say at my house, most of these treasure hunts we open. My little boy has them in his collection and uses them. So what you see here is what I could quickly find that we had open from last year. The rest of them, rather than hunt them down, I just brought them over on cards. So I'm going to go in order they were released. First one we have here is the Dark Knight Batmobile. Pretty cool treasure hunt here. Of course, it's a Batmobile. And, you know, however you feel about those, that's it's not a bad casting. Pretty popular, actually. And definitely one, you know, I'm trying to think of this from my perspective and from the kiddos. The boy definitely likes that one. That's probably why I couldn't find it. Had the Quick Bite here. That was the second one that was released. So really, you know, you have two fantasy castings right off the bat. Of course, the Batmobiles are usually at least semi-popular. What do we have next? Oh, I'm going to go out of order here. Let's see. Had the Pixel Shaker here. Had a lot of people looking for that. I don't really know how popular that was at the time. But I know a lot of people were looking for it after the fact, I think, trying to complete their collection. I think this is the only treasure hunt, like one of the only rare cars that I've ever found at Target. I always hit Targets too late. Had the tuned Twin Mill. So right off the bat, we're looking at, I guess let's go ahead and get into the next one because it kind of follows along with that. We had the Draftinator. So really, if you're thinking about all the treasure hunts we had this year so far, you know, it's like, it's a lot of fantasy castings. They're kind of underwhelming. Well, it's the same, you know, kind of last year. You had the Batmobile that I'm sure was pretty popular. I really don't remember. But out of the other ones, you know, they're all fantasy castings. And that's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 in a row we had that was fantasy castings that honestly, if it hadn't been a treasure hunt, most people probably wouldn't have cared about it all, you know, other than maybe the Batmobile. So now you kind of start getting into some licensed car here on number 6 with this Wrangler. That one was fairly popular when it came out. And actually, you know, it's a really good looking casting. Pretty cool. I'm not a huge fan of the mud studs. I wish they'd just put regular, you know, tires on it. But it is what it is. And but the body on that looks really good. That'd be a really good one to do, like a wheel swap or something on. Duck and Roll, probably one of the exceptions to the rule. It is a fantasy casting, but this thing was wildly, wildly popular. So, and really still pretty popular. Of course, this is an easy set to collect, so, you know, I get that. Hello, hello. Next one we had was the Morris Mini, another very popular one. Of course, another licensed casting. So you can see right off the bat, we get into several licensed castings pretty quick about the middle of the year last year. And pretty popular ones at that. So it's not like it's just a licensed casting, but it's ones that people actually wanted. Of course, we have the always lamented Gotta Go. I know a lot of people just absolutely despise this casting. Kind of funny that it was, you know, made into a treasure hunt. But it is what it is. I didn't mind it. And like I said about it earlier in the year, we've already had 2 colorations of this in 2023. So it'll probably be a while before we see the Gotta Go again. 87 Dodge D100 was the next one in line. Of course, another licensed casting. Pretty nice casting, but it really didn't seem to be all that popular. But, again, it is at least a licensed casting, not a fantasy casting, which I know is a lot of times people's kind of gripe with the treasure hunts. And 58 Impala, another licensed casting. Pretty sought-after car here, and I'm still finding these. I've found several of these just in the past month in the store. So, but I think there's probably still some people out there looking for this. The art car might have turned some people away from it, but I thought it was a really nice matchup, really nice design on that. Had the Warp Speeder. Of course, a lot of people didn't care for this one. It was all right. I got one from a little girl. My little boy kind of could take it or leave it. But pretty cool on the track, I think. And I think a lot of people's problem with it was, of course, that it was just a complete fantasy casting. And, you know, we had had several licensed cars by then. Of course, probably one of the most popular treasure hunts we've had possibly ever, really, was this Subaru Impreza 22B STI. And this is probably one of my favorite treasure hunts ever. Just a really nice casting. And the thing about this one was, even if this hadn't been a treasure hunt, this still would have been a very popular car. So you can't really say that for some of the other ones. They might have a little bit of a following, but I don't think really much of anything else we've seen other than the Duck and Roll kind of has its own little fan club. Had this Muscled and Blown. Another fantasy casting, but it was reasonably popular. I think this is a really good looking version of this car. I liked it. I picked up several of them. So out of the fantasy castings we did have last year, I think this is probably one of the more well received. And then I think we ended the year with this 71 Mustang Funny Car. A lot of people had a hard time getting a hold of this one. It was really popular for a while. Seemed like it died down pretty quickly. But, again, another licensed casting. So, overall, and we didn't have anything, like all of these you could run on the track except for the 2 trucks, I think. Which, you know, for some of you may not be a thing, but for some reason I just like for my treasure hunts to at least be able to run them on a track if you want to. But not considering the Batmobile, it's licensed but not really a real car. You had what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 of the treasure hunts last year were actually licensed cars. So let's compare that to what we have this year in 2023 so far. And I realize they're going to have some more coming out towards the end of the year. And we're actually kind of getting into that with some of the most recent ones that are coming out. But you have the Raisin Express starting out. And I've made the comment before, this isn't a licensed casting, but it's not exactly a fantasy casting either, because this is a real thing that people do with their trucks. And, you know, it's pretty neat if you've not looked at it. Google Raisin Express real life, And you'll see some pretty wild things that people do with their real life big trucks like this. Pretty cool. So not a licensed casting, but I don't know. I have a problem calling it fantasy because it's actually something that's based in real life. Second one you have is the Surf Crate, and while I think this is okay, and I think this might have a little bit of a following too, another fantasy casting, not just wildly popular. BMW R9T Racer. I mean, I like the Hot Wheels motorcycles. I don't know, just something feels funny about it being a treasure hunt, I guess. And I think what gets me too is we have the Ducati coming up as well. So that's 2 motorcycle treasure hunts in a year. I guess if you're a Hot Wheels motorcycle fan, or just you kind of like Hot Wheels and you're really into motorcycles, then it's probably a good year for you because you're getting 2 treasure hunts. But something about it just seems odd to me, I guess because it's not really been done that way before. And especially if you consider that coming in with the mad props. So we've got already 3 treasure hunts that aren't even cars. So that's, it's a little bit different. Kind of just seems a little off to me. And I like the mad props. It's okay. Honestly, it may be one of my more favorite treasure hunts this year, which this one kind of has some history with Hot Wheels a little bit, so I guess that kind of helps things a little bit too. But just a little bit odd. Next one we had was the Mod Rod. And I like this casting probably more than a lot of other people I've talked to. I think it's cool that we have the Team Hot Wheels going on here, Hot Wheels 55 race team. I don't mind the casting. It's okay. They've done some really cool things with it. So, personally, I would say this is probably one of my more favorite treasure hunts of the year. But, again, it's not all that super popular, I don't think. I've not really seen people just clamoring for any of these. Have the Donut Drifter, again, another fantasy casting. I could take this one or leave it myself, just truthfully. Even now, and I will say, you've heard me say if you follow the channel for any amount of time, I don't mind fantasy castings. I usually like them okay, but this one, seems like it's been a little overdone too, and it's very similar to the Cupcake one. I mean, it is what it is. They're kind of fun, but as far as treasure hunts go, it's a little underwhelming to me. And the last one that I have is this Rise and Climb. And if you follow the Amazon Black Box unboxings that I do, you'll notice, I wouldn't even have realized this was a treasure hunt if I hadn't looked it up ahead of time. I mean, I guess if I'd seen this back here, I would have. I probably wouldn't have paid that much attention to the flame logo. But again, just kind of an underwhelming casting. And I even try to think, will my boy like this? Is this something I would have liked when I was a kid? And I don't know if I would have cared too much for this one. Maybe it was cool because it had I guess these are bicycles that had the bikes in the back, but I don't know, just kind of underwhelming once again. No real wow factor. And that's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's 7 into it. So at this point last year, we had a couple of pretty nice castings that were fairly popular, and this year we've just not had that. Now, like I said, those are the last ones that I have in person, so we'll just take a look here at what's coming up that I know for sure is confirmed. Of course, I said we had the Ducati. I don't foresee that one being super popular. We have the 95 Jeep Cherokee. That one will probably go okay. That's a pretty good looking casting. I don't know that it'll be as popular as the Wrangler was last year. Of course, I think this was a new casting last year. That would have been a really good opportunity to do a treasure hunt on that. And we have the Toyota Land Cruiser. I don't mind that. Again, I'm just going by what's probably going to be popular, and I just have a feeling that is not going to be all that popular. So far, even though we do have a couple of licensed vehicles coming into the fray, still just a little underwhelming on the year for treasure hunts as a whole, especially when you consider last year. Now, I know I didn't go back into 2021, but even it seemed like it was a little bit better. Even on the fantasy castings, I think they've been better fantasy castings than what we're getting this year. So, guys, let me know. I know a couple of y'all popped in. Let me know in the comments what you think about the treasure hunts this year if you're watching this video later. You know, are there any that you're looking forward to? Maybe as we get some more, if you go back and see this video later, there'll be something that you find that you've liked. But so far, it's just been a little underwhelming for me, and I hate that because, you know, part of the reason I thought to even do this video was the treasure hunt videos we do here are some of the more popular ones that we have, and I'm sure it's probably because the treasure hunts are a little bit rare, but they're very attainable. You can get them in multiple stores. And, you know, it's usually just a fun set to collect. You can get multiples of them, so you don't have to feel bad about opening one if you like to collect your stuff on cards, kind of like I do. So I can get multiples. I can give the kids one. I can keep one if I want it. I can keep one on the card. You can just do a lot of different things with them fairly easily. And if you miss out on one, they're not all that expensive to buy on the secondary market usually. So, guys, with that, I believe we'll just go ahead and wrap this up. Hope everybody's having a good weekend. Appreciate y'all watching. Happy hunting, y'all.